8 reasons why you're still failing the CELPIP exam. And if you are doing this for the first time and you don't pay attention to these 8 reasons, you could be someone who fails the exam as well. The CELPIP exam is the easiest exam among the 3 given options, IELTS, PT Core, and CELPIP. But a lot of people struggle with CELPIP, and when we see these students, there are 8 things in common that we see repeated across the board, and we will tackle all of them. First of all, remember, this exam is your secret to Canadian immigration. This boosts your CRS scores and helps you with your language proficiency requirements. You need to get serious in this, and there's a very easy way to do that. That is to simply avoid making these 8 mistakes. The first one is missing descriptions, and we're talking about all modules. So we're going to cover in this video listening, reading, writing, speaking. But when it comes to mistake number 1, which is missing descriptions, we're talking about writing and speaking. A lot of these students go into the exam and give very brief sentences without really explaining the details behind them. For example, if I am doing my speaking part 1 and making a suggestion, for example, telling someone how to cook, and I say, go to YouTube and you're going to find lots of great content there. That's my first suggestion. My next suggestion is, and this is the way you speak, this is the way you write. What you are doing is you are not explaining the process of how should I go on YouTube and what do I do exactly. You need to explain here. Once you go on YouTube, in the search bar, you could ask or type for multiple recipes regarding the Mediterranean dishes, since that is your passion. Plus, they're super easy to cook. You'll find a lot of tutorials. Try to aim for the ones that are in the top 3 search results, because those are the most effective and quickest ones. Trust me, I have experienced this myself. Now, once you view them, try to follow that as is. Don't change anything, because those are recipes from experts. Secondly, the other thing you could do is, and now you move on to your second point. First, fully explain the one point and then move on to the others. The same goes for writing. Now, you want to be careful with the words and time, so make sure you're detailing it enough, but not too much. Make sure you have good descriptions. Give reasonings. Don't just say a point and move on. Quality descriptions are needed instead of quantity descriptions. Mistake number 2 is especially happening repeatedly in speaking, and that is having a flat tone. Don't be a robot. Don't be monotone. You have to vary your volume when you're speaking. In other words, what I'm asking you to do is speak like a natural, normal human being, as if you were talking to real people. Going back to my example of that YouTube video, if I say, you should go on YouTube and you should look up recipes, they will help you, and I know you love to experiment, change that tone to, you should definitely go on YouTube and try experimenting with all these recipes they have. I know you are a really passionate YouTuber, so just doing that itself will be good enough for you. Changing the volume, having the pauses in the right places, and using a natural tone is going to help you get that mark for speaking. It's a very easy mark to get. Don't be a robot in the exam. Simple. You don't even need to learn this. You just need to flip the switch in your head from thinking of it as an exam to thinking of it as a real conversation with real people. Imagination will help you get there. The third thing is ignoring adjectives in writing and speaking. So once again, this ties in with our first point, which is about descriptions. When you're describing, for example, the picture questions in speaking, here if you say, on the top left, there's a man walking. On the bottom right, the girl is talking. And these are the sentences you're making without really explaining the descriptions within them. For example, on the top left, there's a man who is walking and he looks panicked. Maybe he is in a rush. However, the girl on the bottom right-hand side is just playing, and she is the complete opposite in comparison because she looks very laid back based on her body language. Now, what you're doing here is you're getting marks on 2 things. Number 1, task response, because you're detailing the picture in more detail. You're going in more descriptions. And number 2, vocabulary, because now you're using a range. You're using descriptions which use adjectives and add emotions and feelings to the picture. Same goes for writing. When you explain a benefit, pro or a con, or explain a past event, whatever you're writing about in task 1 or task 2, make use of adjectives and descriptions. It gives you marks in 2 areas, task response and vocab. Conversely, you can think of it in a way where if you don't do that, you lose marks. So make sure to just implement that. Once again, the 4th tip is going to be on writing and speaking both. And this is where we use a lot of simple sentences. Now, simple sentences are not bad. They're good actually when used in combination with complex sentences. The combination of the 2 is needed. If you have all complex sentences, you lose marks. If you have all simple sentences, you lose marks. A combination of the 2 ensures you get good marks. So a simple sentence is a simple one. For example, I didn't like the restaurant service. Very small, short. A complex sentence has 2 or more clauses. Given that I came into your restaurant with very high expectations, comma, if you're writing, I unfortunately left with a bad taste in my mouth, both literally and figuratively, because this is a restaurant, so literally we'll be tasting their food. Now here I had 2 clauses in one sentence, making it a complex sentence. And if I give enough mixtures and combinations of simple and complex sentences, I will secure a really high mark for vocabulary. So always be on the lookout for that. And in writing, this is something you can easily proofread and improve. In speaking, you're kind of stuck when you are done talking. However, at home, if you practice enough, you'll learn how to do a good combination of simple and complex sentences. The 5th thing is not practicing timing at home. When you are practicing these tests, and you can utilize a lot of mock tests, we have 25 of them available right now. AI-driven mock tests and teacher feedback-based mock tests, all included in our CELPIP 15-hour course in the description. Now, when you're practicing these tests, you have to time yourself. And in the exam, when students approach the exam on the exam day, they are shocked and surprised with how fast the time goes. But if you have practiced that at home, you wouldn't be shocked, you wouldn't have nerves, you'll be in control. So simple, practice your exams with the right timing at home. The 6th problem is not having strong vocab. And this is something that affects all 4 modules, listening, reading, writing, speaking. When you are not able to understand the words in listening and reading, you lose marks. In writing and speaking, if you're not using advanced words, you lose marks. The best way to build this is to learn CELPIP specific vocab words. And it does take time, a minimum of 2 weeks, maximum of 2 or 3 months. But even if you do it for 2 weeks, you will learn a lot and you will see those words and phrases in the exam very likely. Also, you'll be able to use them. So make sure to utilize word lists that are available in our CELPIP 15-hour course, which is in the description. Building vocab is crucial. The 7th mistake is when we're talking about reading and listening and you don't paraphrase the words from the question, is a guaranteed failure. The words that are in the questions are not going to be repeated in the transcript when you're listening or in the passage when you are doing the comprehension. They are 90% of the times paraphrased. So don't rely on every single keyword, but paraphrase them in your head because they will be paraphrased in the reading passage, and when you're listening, they'll be said in a different way. Even more important is to understand the concept behind what they are saying and listening and what they are presenting in reading. Sometimes it's not even the word or synonyms, but it's the concept that is stated, but it's just paraphrased from the question. So be careful with that. The final mistake number 8, is going into the exam without having any sort of feedback. And now I'm going to tell you about different types of feedback you can get. You can get feedback from AI. You can type your stuff and speak in ChatGPT, but for speaking, you do need to pay a little price. In our course, that is already included with AI feedback. So you have those tools. You have Grammarly to get some feedback. You have your friends or family who you can show your writing and speaking to, given that they are advanced, if they're like you, or worse than you in speaking or writing, no need to take their feedback. Or you could use our options. We offer live classes for CELPIP. We also offer free feedback with our CELPIP 15-hour course. Until and unless you get feedback, you will never know where you stand. And here's a bonus. You can give yourself feedback too. When you write something, proofread it. When you speak, record yourself and listen to yourself. When you read and listen and check the answers, see what went wrong. How could you do better next time? What did you miss? So these things, with feedback, you have multiple ways to get it done. If you are not giving yourself feedback or taking coaching where you can get feedback from our teachers, or getting the help of a qualified friend or family member, or using AI, if you're not using any of these things and you just go into the exam without any feedback, you're going to lose the battle of getting a high score in the CELPIP exam. So guys, make sure to avoid these 8 things in order to ensure you have guaranteed improvement in your results, or if it's your first time, you go in there and ace the result the very first time. Again, if you want more details on our CELPIP 15-hour course, you're going to get our reviews, sample class videos, all features detailed in the link in the description. Check it out. If you have any questions, feel free to email us. Please like, share, and subscribe as well, and I hope this video helped out.